Heidi ho, everyone, and welcome aboard. It is the last trading show of the week for Ash and me. G'day, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm a bit dishevelled, aren't I? I look like I just got out of bed. I didn't. I got out a few hours ago. I'm good. Yeah, everything's fine,
um,
except the market's not doing so many good things at the moment. So
yeah,
yeah,
in actual fact, mate, I've got a trade.
there you go.
Talking of the market not doing exactly what we want, it might not end up doing exactly what I want by taking me in, but we'll see. So it's for natural gas. So this is the trade here. I will discuss it further in. Oh, sorry. Did I share my screen? I didn't share my screen, did I? There we go.
Yeah, gotcha.
Um, I am going into natural gas now. It's done it again. It has done it again. Oh, there we go. My annotation keeps slipping all over the place. Now here's my order. I haven't entered this market yet, but here's the order. So it's natural gas, and the ticker is NXNG versus the USD, and the price is currently 2.8609. Now I'm getting a full 1% with this one. I know I have been going in at reduced risk up until this particular point, but I quite like this. 2.8609 is the entry. It is for a short. And the stop loss is up at this level here, which is 2.9591. Let's call it 9. Yeah, that's okay, actually. 2.9591. Now, I'll discuss in further detail why I like this trade and why I'm getting into it. Now, the reason I'm going in it, so the risk is 1%. And the reason the risk is 1% is that it won't be 1% if it starts to break through certain levels. So if it starts to take out this level here, then I'm going to come out of the trade. So it's pretty much a 0.5% risk all told. But between this particular position and this point here, it's about 1%. So let's see if it gets in. It doesn't look like it will at this stage. I have to say it's snuck up a few times to near entry without actually providing me an entry, and it does seem to want to go. So so it might be may end up being a missed opportunity, this one, but that's where the order is going to sit, and I'm just going to hope that it does provide me with an opportunity. So that's for me, mate. That's it.
Right, bud. I don't think I've got anything pending, but probably a few things that I need to get through. So let's go and do that. First one, I'm going to go straight to the pound breakout trade. Now, if I can find the control panel, that is. God, it just goes missing, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's yeah. I just said exactly the same thing.
All right. So pound US dollar breakout trade. Now, those of you who trade this, I hope you trade it knowing the exact rules that I use. And if not, I'm going to update you on them, because it's very, very important how you manage these things as to what result you're going to get out of them. Okay, we nominated a TP1 today on the pound going long at 1.2971 on this broker, which is Fusion Markets. We got to 1.29703, so 0.7 of a pip from take profit. Now, I'm sure I've told you 100 times, if I get TP1, happy days, but if I miss it by a pip or very, very close there too, and it retraces, I immediately move my stop to entry, just in case what happened. And same result. It's a break-even trade as if you got TP1, but that is how I deal with that. So that will go down as a break-even trade. If you hadn't done that, and like me, the broker only gave you 0.07 of 1 pip prior to TP1, then you've come out with a loss. That's why it's very, very important to do so. And we also said during that show Which direction do you want to be trading the pound today? Given that we were at DR1 and we had an untested daily pivot. Yesterday, we had an untested daily pivot. We were trading here. And we didn't take the trade because the daily pivot does what the daily pivot does. It repels price as well as attracts it. So 2 lessons there in 2 days on how to keep your money in your bank account. One of them, don't trade into an untested daily pivot. If you're close to it, that is without profit. 2, don't trade away from an untested daily pivot unless you take profit very quickly, and then you have enough nous. If you don't if you don't get the profit that you hit, that you set rather, then make yourself safe very quickly, because that's what can happen and will and does, and that's why the rule is there. Moving on from that, we have got a truckload of orders in the market. Well, a few. Let me say a few. One of them is dollar Swissy on the daily chart, and we placed this on Tuesday. Didn't trigger yesterday. Sorry, did we place it on? We placed it on Wednesday. It didn't trigger yesterday, so we cancelled the order overnight, as we do. We let it expire with the changing of the days, and then we decided that nothing had changed, because we pretty much got a doji day yesterday, that we would replace the order, which we have done. So the order remains selling at 0.9133 with a stop loss at 0.9207 and a TP1 at 0.9083. That's dollar Swissy. Kiwi yen, we're still in Kiwi yen, I think. Hang on, I'll just check my personal account. I think we are. Yes, that is the case. We are beyond TP1 and around about that TP1 level as it decides what it wants to do. Now, we're kind of in a situation where we're waiting to get a re-entry on this, so to scale in point. I'm not there yet. You can see what we traded. What we traded was a clear false break of that trade line at a beautiful position, right on the monthly pivot. Came back underneath. Daily pivot was involved as well. Pulled back off it. Entry there. TP1 was about where we are, right there. And as I say, we're not that far from that level right now. Now, to scale into this, what I need to see is price get back up here, consolidate a little bit, come back underneath the trade line, similar to what has happened here, and then we'll look to trade it short. That's Kiwi yen. What else have we got? Euro pound, we're still in. You should all know about that one. Kiwi dollar, no. Dollar yen, no. We're out of that now. That was our loser for the week. Let's hope it's the only one. Euro yen, no. Euro CAD. I've got a Euro CAD trade somewhere. Or an order, rather. And it's on the weekly chart. And there it is. We're trading this bar here. And the order is selling. It hasn't triggered, of course. Selling at 1.5548 with a stop loss at 1.5748 and a first take profit at 1.5448. Now, just brief explanation of this. It's trading a double top and a lower high. It can't get much simpler than that, frankly. And I'd prefer that the candle that we're trading had closed above the monthly pivot, but it hasn't. So we're a little bit close to entry. For my liking anyway, on a weekly chart, I like to see price give us a little bit more insurance than it has. But the setup's quite clear. It's a double top followed by a lower high, which really hasn't formed yet, but it looks for all intents and purposes as though it will be. I think that's all I'm in at the moment, mates. Pound Kiwi, we're waiting very, very patiently to get into this long. And frankly, I think the only thing I need to see is to get back below all the pivots and then come back above them and retest that confluence area. And I think I'd be away there. that's got a big reward involved if we can get it right, if we can get the timing right. We're a couple of thousand pips or more than that. So, even 100, 200 pip risk here is worth taking. So we'll have a good look at that when the time comes. But at the moment, it's a no from me. We may look at, as I say, getting below this confluence area and then trying to strike while the iron is hot down in that level.
Is that a long? Is it, mate?
That will be a long. Yep.
Yeah, interesting stuff, really. Sort of as the EU and the UK to and fro with negotiations, there does seem to be a headline which says that the EU and the UK are lurching towards a deal. Even given all the rhetoric that's
today,
around right now.
Now, yesterday was something different. The day before was something different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're both still playing a bit of hardball. I think. The fisheries is one of the issues, and it's quite an interesting problem in a lot of respects, because the UK is talking about blocking to a lesser or greater degree some of the EU boats getting into the waters of the UK's waters to fill up similar quotas as the UK will have. And they don't want that because they want to be, the competitive force in regards to the fish that are brought in from fishing from UK waters. But it's not that many nations. If you think about how many nations are landlocked in the EU, there's not that many that they're battling against with this. France is the main kind of protagonist on the other side of the argument here. And I think Macron's kind of been met with a little bit of unpopularity because of it. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at how much GDP the fishing industry brings in, but I don't think it's a great deal. So I think it's a contentious issue, but it might be a political one as much as anything else. Are
there any fish left up there?
Well, that's half the problem with the quotas. I mean, they've got to allow these things to replenish, and that just hasn't really happened over the.
Because we're stupid. We're human beings. We don't understand that there is actually a future that we have to guard and take care of.
Absolutely,
we just don't get that for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely, mate, and it's a concerning situation and scenario, isn't it? Because of that. So
I'm on an island, of course, where I've only got to drive 5 minutes, and I've got fish farms all around the place. Everywhere you see around Tasmania, pretty much, has got fish farms.
What does that involve? Just lakes that they use?
No, they just use big pens. So they've got big pens like nets.
Yeah.
And they're big, of course, and they've got a series of those out in the ocean or out in the harbors.
Okay.
And they just they breed the fish in those big nets.
Oh, okay.
And they feed them every day and change the water every day. And of course, we've got issues with that in the harbors. They've got a harbour on the west coast of Tasmania.
Yeah,
they've got a harbour. It's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous harbour. And if you're ever in that neck of the woods, you must do the cruise, which goes up a pristine river that's just virgin. What do they call it? Virgin territory. The word will come eventually.
Yeah. So they are these fish kind of responsibly sourced in many respects, or are they very much packed into these spaces? Does it look quite
they're very tight. They're very tightly regulated these days. I won't say that was the case in the initial stages, but that's the future.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no future, because all the boats that you're just talking about that go out and fish, unless they're adhering to strict quotas, that maybe it's even too late for. Then the fishing, there's no fish left basically in the ocean to sustain the demand.
Yeah.
So therefore there is no option. But the crazy part about all that is, and the human intervention in nature, as you know, doesn't work too well in this beautiful pristine harbour, which is World Heritage stuff out over there. They've got all of these pens. and keeping all these fish. And of course, we're not supposed to have that many fish in that place.
Yeah.
Nature didn't intend for that to happen. So if you can imagine, in one pen, you've got, I don't know, 40,000 fish defecating every 5 minutes of the day. What happens to the harbour floor? Everything changes. The ecosystem changes.
Yeah.
So, and they've now moved that, a lot of that out into the open sea for those reasons. And I suppose that's not a bad step, but even so, we don't get the message. If you intervene with nature, nature will come back at you and it'll bite you in the bum.
Yes, it absolutely will, mate.
And,
yeah, you're right. We don't seem to get the message, do we?
We don't. We just don't get it.
Anyway,
how do we trade that?
Well, I don't know.
Fish farms, mate.
We are in the natural gas trade.
Tasmanian scallops for lunch, as a matter of fact.
Yes, we just got taken into the natural gas trade, so we're in that now.
Okay, cool.
So let's see what happens there. There is a weekly pivot in the way. Maybe we can talk about the trade a little bit, actually, while we're waiting to go on to the US session. I'll talk a bit more about the whys with this trade later on, but I just want to show you what we got with a price action here. In actual fact, I might even consider adding to it there. We'll see. So this is what I'm looking at ultimately. So this is the technical reason, for that I'm looking at a short with natural gas. You can see that there's a fairly strong price action level here. Last week, now this is a weekly chart here. Last week we had a pretty big drawdown in natural gas with this bar here, but this one here. But we've popped back up so far this week. So what I'm interested in is to see if we can continue a move to the downside and potentially beyond. I'd like to see whether we can get back to this area here. So risk to reward is huge, and it does obviously mean that that the likelihood it happens diminishes somewhat, because it's a pretty tight range here. So 11.55. So we're looking at around about. Well, it looks around about a 7-to-1 if it was to work out. So that's what I'm after here, mate. A bit of a deep move in natural gas, if possible.
I was talking to. Sorry, you go, and when you're done, I'll just chip in.
Well, we'll see how that gets managed as we go. The stock market it continues to move, fairly positively to the upside. We're seeing the FTSE 100 continue to extend its legs towards this level here. And that's going to have to be a pattern break. So looks like the falling wedge could well be tested here, and possibly go beyond. And therefore we are seeing global equities right across the board move to the upside. So we are in a risk-on environment. The Nasdaq's something similar. We've seen. Look at this weekly bar here that we saw on the Nasdaq. It looks fairly negative, kind of in the wrong environment. But of course, if they work out, then we take that as a signal. But actually, if the Nasdaq breaks through that point, think about how many stops are going to be placed up there. I mean, this really could cause quite a significant move higher. And we do seem to be in that current mindset right now with the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq looks like it could be pushing for some further upside, as we see with the FTSE. So we do have a risk on environment, but as I say, for right now, I'm choosing to go with natural gas, because I'd really like to see the Nasdaq break through and then come back. If it can break through and come back, then we can start looking at a trade. I've just been with Orlando, and he made a very good point. Is if the Nasdaq was to come through this area. And we're probably looking at pretty short-term timeframes here. But if the Nasdaq was able to break through its level here, and it looks like the level might just be along here, it gets through that high. I don't think we see much of an opportunity to think. I think it's going to be one of those things that if we can break out, we might come back on a short-term time frame, and we're just going to have to hold our nose and take the trade if we want to get on board with some upside. So I like the Nasdaq as well. I like the global equity situation, but we're in a sell zone here, so we got to break through that area and see if we can get through. But as I say, the amount of stops that are going to be sat there, if there's a short-term time frame we can get an entry on, then it might be worth taking. Reducing the risk right down on something like this would be wise. With natural gas, as I said, I've gone in at the full 1%, but with something like this, I'd go in at half instead, just to have a speculative position in the Nasdaq. Sorry, buddy, what were you saying?
No, that's quite okay. We in last night's US session, we were having a yak about all sorts of different things, and I went through the trading inside or intraday trading inside the pivots, and we're also talking about cycles. What are your thoughts on cycles? And I don't mean the ones that you pedal with your pedal.
What is in business cycle? The business cycle,
as in any cycle, life cycle, water cycle.
Oh, well, I think that there is.
Trading cycles.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that they naturally they do exist, but as soon as man gets involved, then cycles kind of get a little bit muddied. We used to have quite obvious kind of business cycles, but there's no question that we still get, and I think it's probably dependent on the product as well. If we relate it back to the market, let's think about seasonal cycles. And a seasonal cycle back in the 1950s on let's say chickens. I use this example when I'm talking about seasonals, because there used to be a situation where you could buy eggs, you could buy the price of eggs in the summer, because chickens lay less eggs in the summer, and if they go over 100 degrees, then the chickens die, which means that the price of eggs would go up because of the lack of supply.
My chickens won't lay in the winter, lazy buggers.
Well, I don't know what that's about, mate. I can't fix that one.
It's too cold.
Well, maybe that's the other time. But seasonally,
they're like males. They keep their eggs inside when it's cold.
So seasonally, there is a correlation between the seasons and what happens to eggs there. But of course, when human beings get involved in that, and really what comes front and center really is technology. Technology gets brought into play. They sort of have lovely air conditioned areas that chickens can not know what's going on outside, and all of a sudden you get a nice supply of eggs all year round. So yeah, well, I mean, so this is the thing, that they do exist, but they can be tampered with, which makes them makes it a little bit trickier. And I think you have to approach every single cycle that you're talking about with an air of extra research to say, okay, well, will it get affect? Are there other mitigating factors that could actually break the cycle here? We know that gold tends to have a boost during the Christmas period. They say it's down to do with the Indian celebration, and obviously maybe the Christmas period has got a big piece to do with it. But will that be the case if, let's say, you've got a pandemic that you've got on right now? Do you get the same kind of seasonal activity that would have happened previously? So I think there are mitigating circumstances, but I can certainly I would certainly err on the side of using a cycle to as part of the arsenal, but maybe it goes just a bit further back.
Oh, look, there are all sorts of cycles going around, all around us, every single moment of the day and every single hour of the week.
Yeah.
But I reckon you've got one that's just completed right there on our screen. And
okay, yeah.
If we talk about sentiment cycles, we will all be aware that there is such a thing as a sentiment cycle. I'm not saying that that's sentiment cycle. What I am saying is that the high that you've got on the left of your screen, which is just about to be matched, or if not has been matched, it's a bit of a cloud of a price, by the right of your screen.
Yeah.
And if you were to draw a line down the exact middle between those two highs, to me, you've got a complete cycle. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not picture perfect, but
Well, it's close, isn't it?
it's done exactly on the left.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's done exactly on the right what it did on the left.
Yeah.
And we probably call that a W bottoming pattern, just like we call
Yes.
an M topping pattern going the other
Yes.
direction. These are the things I think that we don't pay a lot of attention to that we really should. And I see these, day in, day out, and you'll often see me talk about that mirror image, if you like, known as, God, I'm tired. I can't get the words out. What is the word I'm looking for? Symmetry.
Yeah.
Symmetry is a wonderful thing in cycles, and it's also a wonderful thing to me in trading. And it happens very much so once you've got a top or a bottom happening. And once that cycle starts, it's very, very advantageous to recognize it, because you've then got a clear target to hit.
I agree, mate. And do you know what's really interesting here is that this area, if we bring this onto, this is an hourly chart, you bring this onto a daily, and look what you have, and this again, and I suppose if we're talking about cycles in relation to symmetry, then if we bring this this in here, then what we have is exactly where you just had that that penetration point on the hourly. It's actually the end of the inverted head and shoulders. So from this particular point, you would expect for whatever's to happen to now be complete. So it would go there and through, or it starts to get complete by breaking through. So it really
and
is
a new cycle begins.
And a new cycle begins. Exactly. And this really is actually exactly where the inflection point of this particular cycle ends, and a new one starts. And the question is, does it go above or does it go below? And this is what I was saying about if we do manage to break above, then we should be looking on shorter term timeframes for a trade, because if this cycle has finished and there's no more neckline to be kind of seen, like we've seen it here, actually only once before here, didn't really get up there, but this is the second blast of the neckline. If we're not going to see the neckline again and a new cycle starts, if that new cycle is suggesting it's going up, there's not going to be much opportunity, I wouldn't have thought, to get on board with this. So I do think actually the price we're at now or near is the price to get in at if it breaks, and then after the break, look for a retest on a short-term time frame and see if there's a trading opportunity there. But we'll check it out, mate. I think that there's every chance that happens today. I think the market is looking pretty keen at this particular stage. You look on the 15-minute chart on the Nasdaq here, and it's incredibly keen to break through these levels. We saw this area of consolidation, and now that area of consolidation has just been taken out. We got a bar which suggests that there are some buyers, coming back into play here, and the sellers being flushed out. So it's very keen to go. Whether it does go is always part of the question. But if it can get up there, I think we see something quite significant here.
And similarly, you've got a short-term cycle that's just been completed.
Yes.
But you may have a medium to longer term cycle that is still unfolding, and that would be the right shoulder of that, or the right side of the double top for the M topping pattern.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's your homework for the week, guys. Go and check out those topping patterns and bottoming patterns and see if you can draw a line of symmetry straight down the middle and see what happens on the way back up if you've just come off the bottom. See what happens on the way back down if you've just come off the top. It may surprise you. Oh, it's that time of day.
It is, unfortunately.
They just rang the bell.
They rang the bell, yeah. So last orders.
So as I say, there's your homework, guys. Those of you who are not in the subscription part of the US session, thanks very much for your company throughout the week. We've had a fair few conversations about some different things. And there's another one. Hop on your bicycle. Have a good weekend. Everyone else, we'll be back with you very, very shortly. See you in a tick.
See you guys.